Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now, Derek Chisora has explained that Dillian Whyte is being punished for not taking the fight against Anthony Joshua on April 13th, 2019. And that is the reason why he has not yet had a world title fight. And that is the reason why DAZN don't want to deal with him, and that is the reason why Matchroom continuously put Anthony Joshua first. Now, obviously Matchroom are going to put AJ first because he's the one who's at the top of the heavyweight division. He is the champion, and Dillian Whyte hopes to get there one day, and maybe he will, but ultimately AJ is number one. Even Eddie Hearn has said that. Dillian Whyte knows that. AJ is number one heavyweight at Matchroom Boxing. That's just the way it is. Now, I'm not sure whether Dillian Whyte is being punished for not taking that fight. It's his career. He can do what he wants, and when he has a world title shot, he wants to make sure that he has enough time to prepare. Because let's be real, Dillian Whyte has waited a long time for a world title fight. So to go in there maybe at 80%, 85%, maybe it's not the best thing for Dillian Whyte. And I mean, he's done it against Joseph Parker. He had, 10 weeks, I think, instead of 12. It was made quite late and they had to get in there and fight. But the same thing happened with Joseph Parker. He was in the same boat. And I know you could say that that would be the same if Dillian Whyte fought Anthony Joshua, but I guess you could say if he is challenging for his first world title, then he's going to want to be at the best he can be. He's going to want to be at the peak of his powers, because if he lost against Joseph Parker, then it's going to be a curveball in his career, but it's not his world title shot. He hasn't blown it because he didn't have enough time to prepare. No excuses, because a fighter doesn't really want to be making excuses after a fight, because at the end of the day, it's more difficult for a fighter to believe his own or her own excuses after a fight than it is to make the fans believe it, because they can make all of these excuses up. I mean, Deontay Wilder done that after losing to Tyson Fury, but I bet you he did not believe those excuses as much as his fanboys did. Deontay Wilder knows the truth because he was there, he was training, he done all of the preparation to get ready for the fight. The fans weren't. His fans. So they don't know the ins and outs of his training camp. He does. He knows there was likely nothing wrong and he lost to the better man. So as I said, making those excuses, it's harder to make himself believe them than even to make the fans believe them. So it's always going to be more difficult if a fighter has to make excuses after the fight, like they did not have enough time to prepare. So he's going to want to be at the best he can be in that fight with Anthony Joshua. That is the reason why he did not take it. Now obviously, there were other factors as well, such as money. Money is always a factor because it's a big payday. It's a career high payday against Anthony Joshua. And then if he wins, a rematch would likely be a similar split. And what Dillian Whyte wanted to do was reverse the split in the rematch. So whatever Dillian Whyte gets in the first fight, if he wins, that is what Anthony Joshua gets in the second fight. And that was something that wasn't willing to be compromised on by Team Matchroom, Team AJ, I don't know, but that was something that was a stumbling block in negotiations for that fight on April 13th. And Anthony Joshua ended up going over to America instead. Had that problem with Jarrell Miller, obviously. And then the rest is history. Obviously, Andy Ruiz Jr. came in and became the first Mexican heavyweight world champion, shocking the entire world. And, I mean, Anthony Joshua came back eventually, but what Derek Chisora is saying is that Matchroom, DAZN, Sky Sports are blaming Dillian Whyte for that happening. Now, I mean, Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte did reconcile after their second fight, but I mean, their little feud has kind of refueled. It's come back around because Dillian Whyte said that you will never see a worse knockout than his one over Derek Chisora. And Derek Chisora said he's the better fighter than Dillian Whyte, and in a third fight, he would win. So these two have kind of been jibing at one another over the past few months. So maybe there is a third fight down the line between Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte. If they keep talking, they're both fighting men. They will not turn down a challenge. So if Derek Chisora keeps talking about Dillian Whyte and Dillian Whyte talks about Derek Chisora, then that fight can happen. Why not? I mean, if Dillian Whyte does not get his world title shot, which he should do next year, then why not? What's to stop them having a third fight? It is always going to be a good fight, and I'm going to say I would see it for a third time. We've seen it twice, but why not see it a third time? It will be a good fight. But the only thing is, Dillian Whyte does need his world title opportunity, and no one could blame him for taking that opportunity. He has waited well long enough. So Dillian Whyte will always take a world title shot over a third fight with Derek Chisora. Obviously, he's going to, but it's just whether he gets that fight. Obviously, Matchroom are prioritizing a unification fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, but Eddie Hearn did explain that he wants Dillian Whyte to have his opportunity at Tyson Fury first as a mandatory challenger. So maybe that will happen, or is Eddie Hearn trying to keep Dillian Whyte happy? He's not someone you want to really upset, so I'd imagine he's doing a bit of both. Now, Derek Chisora did also say that Dillian Whyte and him had an agreement that whoever won that fight on the 22nd of December in 2018 would go on to face Anthony Joshua on April 13th, taking that date. Now, obviously, Dillian Whyte won the fight, so he should have had that opportunity. So this fight between either Derek Chisora and Anthony Joshua or Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua was being talked about in November of 2018, months before that April 13th date, because obviously that is when the fight between Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora was made. So the possibility of Dillian Whyte, provided he came through Derek Chisora, fighting Anthony Joshua was always something that was in the work for 6 months before that April 13th date. Yet still, it did not happen. And Derek Chisora is explaining that Dillian Whyte is the reason why that fight with him and Anthony Joshua did not happen, and DAZN, Sky Sports, Matchroom are all blaming Dillian Whyte for what happened with Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz Jr., which I don't know whether he's doing that and saying that just to get under Dillian Whyte's skin. I'm guessing he is, because he's interested in a third fight with Dillian Whyte. So he has to build that in some way. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.